For years, the truth stayed hidden, the victims forgotten, the cases left cold, until science revealed what time could not. This is Decades in the Dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. June 7th, 1992. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Susie Streeter and her best friend Stacy McCall had just graduated from Kickapoo High School in Springfield, Missouri. Like most 18 and 19-year-olds that night, their plans were simple: bounce between a few parties, maybe stay the night at a friend's. But what happened instead would spark one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in modern history. By morning, Susie, Stacy, and Susie's mother, Cheryl Levitt, were all gone. Not a single trace left behind. They're now known as the Springfield Three. Susie and Stacy were inseparable, bubbly, smart, and full of plans for the summer ahead. Cheryl, Susie's mom, was a cosmetologist at a local salon. After her divorce, she had just finished remodeling her house and was excited for a fresh start. She wanted to spend more time with Susie, and had recently expressed concern about her daughter's boyfriend, which reportedly caused tension between them. That night, Susie and Stacy originally planned to sleep at a friend's house after the parties, but the house was too crowded. At the last minute, they decided to go to Susie's place instead. Only a few people knew about that change. Susie's home, at 1717 East Delmar, sat in a quiet neighborhood. Like many places in Springfield at the time, it was the kind of area where people still left their doors unlocked. There's evidence the girls made it there safely. Their cars were in the driveway. Their belongings were inside. Cheryl's bed had been slept in. Signs in the bathroom suggested Susie had removed her makeup before bed, part of her usual nighttime routine. And then, nothing. Stacy's mother, Janice, started to worry when her daughter didn't call or show up as planned. She drove to the house that morning. The front door was unlocked. The three women's purses were lined up inside. Susie's dog, Cinnamon, was nervous but unharmed. Strangely, no one in the neighborhood reported hearing her bark. Not that night, not at all. The glass globe on the front porch light was shattered. Janice swept it up. The beds were made. The TV was left on static. There was a message on the answering machine. Investigators later described it as strange, but before they could analyze it, it was accidentally erased. Its contents have never been publicly disclosed. Concerned but not yet realizing it was a crime scene, Janice called other friends and family members to come over. In total, at least 10 people entered the house that day, trying to figure out where the women had gone. They cleaned up, moved things around, and unknowingly, they may have erased vital evidence. It was like the three women had vanished into thin air. The police were finally called around 2 p.m. that afternoon, hours after the women were last seen. By then, any evidence that might have helped reconstruct the night was gone. Theories poured in. Some believed the women walked in on a robbery in progress. Others suggested Susie and Stacy were targeted by someone they met that night. But the most chilling theory? That someone was already inside the house. One tipster reported seeing a suspicious van in the neighborhood early that morning. An older model Dodge or Chevy, light-colored, possibly beat up, with a ladder or bumper sticker on the back. A composite sketch was made of the man spotted near it. White male, early 30s, with shoulder-length hair and a spaced-out look. The van was never found. Some believe the man in the van may have followed the women home, or even entered the house before they arrived. With no forced entry, no signs of a struggle, and no barking from the dog, investigators couldn't rule out the possibility that the person responsible had been inside the house, waiting. Another theory centered around Robert Craig Cox, a known violent offender. In 1978, Cox was convicted of abducting and nearly killing a 19-year-old woman in Florida. That conviction was later overturned on a legal technicality, but Cox remained a suspect in other disappearances, including a 20-year-old woman named Sharon Zellers. By 1992, he was living in Springfield and working as a utility locator, someone who marked underground cables and pipes for construction crews. He knew the neighborhoods well, including the one where Susie and Cheryl lived. After the Springfield Three vanished, Cox told police he'd been with his girlfriend that night, but she later admitted he told her to lie, and that she hadn't been with him at all. Then in 1996, during a newspaper interview, Cox said, "I know they're dead. I know they were killed. I know that. That's not a theory. I just know that." When asked how he knew, he wouldn't say. Cox later told America's Most Wanted that the case would never be solved. Investigators continue to consider him a person of interest, but without hard evidence, he's never been charged. He had no alibi for that night. Years later, Cox allegedly told a reporter he knew the three women were dead, and claimed they'd never be found. He's never been charged. Then there was the theory that Susie's ex-boyfriend had something to do with it. that it was personal. But there was no evidence of forced entry, no struggle, no signs of blood. Police explored the idea that the girls had been taken somewhere and held, maybe even trafficked. The complete lack of struggle, evidence, or noise suggested they may have been lured out or removed quickly. Some tips pointed to human trafficking, especially given Springfield's location near major interstates like I-44, a known corridor for cross-country movement. The theory gained attention early in the investigation, and federal agencies were involved, but no link to any trafficking ring was ever proven. During the investigation, a tip came in about a man seen regularly visiting a local cemetery late at night, around the time the women vanished. Witnesses claimed he appeared to be digging or moving through the graves with tools. Some believed it might be East Lawn Cemetery, though that was never confirmed. Police reportedly followed up on the lead, but nothing came of it. The man was never identified or publicly connected to the case, but the idea that the women might have been buried in a cemetery, hidden in plain sight, stuck with many. And then came one of the most disturbing theories of all, that the Springfield Three were buried beneath concrete. Around the time of the women's disappearance, a new parking garage was under construction at Cox South Hospital in Springfield. Some believed the women had been killed and hidden in the construction site before concrete was poured, entombing them forever beneath the structure. In 2007, a mechanical engineer named Rick Norland used ground-penetrating radar to scan part of the garage. He claimed to detect 3 anomalies consistent with grave-sized disturbances, but the theory was never confirmed. Authorities said the anomalies were not significant enough to justify tearing up part of a major medical center's foundation. The garage remains untouched, and the mystery remains unresolved. Out of desperation, some turned to unconventional help. Over the years, multiple psychics were brought in by both the families and investigators. Some offered visions of wooded areas or water. Others claimed the women were held somewhere nearby or were already deceased. One psychic even flew in from out of state and walked through the house, claiming to feel a strong presence in the backyard. Nothing ever came of these leads. Although many of the psychics gave detailed descriptions or maps, none of their insights ever led to physical evidence, arrests, or recoveries. Still, for families left with silence, even the faintest thread of hope was worth following. Over the years, investigators chased down more than 5,000 tips. Psychics were consulted, billboards were posted. The story gained national attention on shows like America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. But still, no bodies, no crime scene, no arrests. Even now, over 30 years later, the case remains open. Modern DNA testing, genealogy, and forensic tech are always improving. But without evidence, without anything left behind, there's only so much science can do. What happened that night in Springfield? Did someone lie in wait? Did they lure them out? Were they taken one by one, or all at once? No one knows, and the silence left behind is louder than ever. One person who's never stopped searching is Janice McCall. Stacy's mother has spent the last 3 decades pleading for answers. She co-founded One Missing Link, a nonprofit for families of the missing, and continues to speak publicly, keeping her daughter's memory alive in hopes that one day, someone will come forward. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories where justice never expires. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. Link in the description.